How do you balance out family, work, time, and passion? Today, we have a loving mother, an aspiring entrepreneur, and also an inspirational figure that has been through some of the toughest challenges in life. Meet Ayu Adam, the woman who found herself going head to head with life's challenges and managed to find a way to overcome it. Hi, this is Brylan, and welcome to another episode of Cultivating the Masses. This podcast is a collaboration between Culture Talent and Renegade Radio. So without further ado, let's get to it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, where were you from, by the way, just now?
I was actually from home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I work on my own right now. I'm my own boss.
Right.
So I
That's
pretty
cool.
much work from home, or I move about a lot. So yeah, so I was from home.
Before we start diving into all the topics that we have actually planned to talk about, maybe you can run us through a little bit of a history about yourself, like what's your age, or where did you grow up, where were you born, and all of that. So yeah, just share with us so our listeners can know who you are, what you do currently, and so on and so on.
Okay.
Right.
So my name is Ayu.
Hi,
Ayu
Ayu.
Adam. I'm born in Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
Okay, I'm basically born in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 80s kid, guys. I'm old.
Nice. It's
Not
nice.
that old.
Yeah.
So I'm quite old. So basically, I grew up. I'm the youngest of my family.
Okay.
My parents my dad is from Kuantan.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is KL girl. So you can say that I'm pretty much KL girl myself.
Right.
So I grew up here. So I actually, just a quick look into my teenagehood. I was in a boarding school.
Okay.
That pretty much was one of the best times of my life. And I studied, I furthered my studies in Australia and pretty much enjoyed a lot of traveling there myself. And then I moved on to Malaysia to work. So I started off in interning for L'Oreal. And then I went to publishing for a couple of years. I was leading the marketing for Clio magazine at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was good. It was a good 3-4 years there. So, and then I decided, it was time to kind of move on into something more digital, and that's when the whole social media wave the whole the digital world is kind of expanding quite rapidly in Malaysia. So I pivoted and I joined the agency world. So I spent another close to 10 years in agency.
Wow.
So I grew in my career in terms of curating content. That was the first thing that anyone would do in terms of social media. So I was one of the social media writers, trying to get myself around. There was not much case studies or anything I could pick up at that time. So that was that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does it feel like looking back? Like, I saw that expression, you're like, wow, that was 10 years ago.
I know, right? I guess you get to, when you enjoy doing what you do, it just time flies, I suppose. It was such a great experience for me. I learned a lot. So I think, from being growing up, I think I was an awkward kid, actually. I was, to be quite frank with you, I was quite awkward. I was very shy growing up. And then, I think along the way, I kind of learned to be more independent. And then I realized, what? I'm not gonna be, bound by anyone's, mindset or anything. So I think I carried on that motto the whole of my life through, especially through high school, college, and then particularly in uni. And I carried out that attitude towards work. And then when I start working, so it's just kind of like self-learning and just being focused of where you are and what you can do, etc. Right?
Right.
So I guess that applies a lot when I went into digital, full on to my career. So I think I've learned that you do a lot of mistakes. It was such a challenging year for me. So when you asked me whoa, you had a look in your face 10 years ago. So that was a lot of learning I did. So it was not smooth sailing, but I would not trade anything at all for those moments. So 10 years down, and then from social media writer, and then I basically my peaking point was I was head of strategy. I was heading the social media department, and then I move on to heading the social media department.
I told you that was gonna happen.
I know, getting excited here.
Right, it's okay.
Okay.
It's fine. Go on.
Yeah. So, heading the social media department, I went through strategy, and then I kind of figured, I work with a lot of brands, like from local to also
International.
And then basically and I told myself, you know what, like I think I want to apply this on my own and challenge myself a bit further. So it's really hard kind of to pull yourself up from a 9-to-5 job, especially when you're so comfortable, you've got your routine done and all that. So it took a while for me to make that next step.
Yeah, to adjust to that new life that you...
Just being on your own.
Right. I mean, because you've done it for other people, why not do it for yourself, right?
Yeah. It's the same attitude I had from when I was young. I applied it. I was kind of like, okay, it's nothing wrong. I love helping people. Actually, if anyone asks you for help, it's actually a privilege. You're supposed to be honored to help others. So I carried that on to where I am now. Just
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do it for me.
So let's save that now that we know that you actually pursue your own business. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
But before that, we do know that throughout this whole life that you've been living, you also decided to start a family, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, as a parent yourself, right? How do you actually balance your time with family and also your business?
Okay, good question.
Yeah.
I suppose it comes naturally, right? As long as you know what your priorities are. It's not about motivation. People say, you must be motivated as a mom, as a businesswoman to do certain things. But I think it's all about, the priorities and really disciplining yourself with especially time and your energy. Because if you don't, you're going to get really exhausted. You kind of just give up, right? So I actually have a very strict routine for myself, a discipline that I put on myself.
Right. Do you mind sharing that with us, or?
Yeah, sure. So I've been I'm very particular about my project in terms of work, right? So I apply a lot of things that I acquire along the way. Everything has to be purposeful to me. And everything I learn, I will find a way to apply it in areas that is relevant, right? And it helps. So for example, having to work in an agency requires a lot of organizing your time and, project management, etc. So I apply it to my own personal life, family, right? So it's about, okay, so what I do is, I'm actually quite a very, I have a problem with time management, actually. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to apply a certain processes on my own, if I were to apply it on my business as well. So I applied on my own. I actually I started out with Excel sheets, like having planned out my own calendar. And then I went to having my own online, I actually go onto this platform online to have a timesheet clock in on myself. So I actually shared this recently with a couple of people before. They're kind of like, what, you did that? I was like, I do that because I know what I am, right? Because that's no problem. That's not a problem.
You know your weaknesses and where your strengths are, so you try to
kind of just buffer it up. Right. There's nothing wrong with having weaknesses. It's just how you react to it and how you manage it. I feel. So basically, what I did was, it's like secret unplugged now. So I apply a timesheet for myself, like secretly. So in the morning, I make time to work out for myself. And then I send, I send my kid to school, and then I go, and then I come back, start work, and then the whole day is jam packed with work. And then I pick her up from school at noon. I, get her, fed, give her a bath, and I get back to work again. And then it's all from there. And then as husband and all that duties come into play. So and then there's also the role as being a daughter as well. So I think just having that continuously routine in me, I think that helped. After a while, it's kind of like, those days that you're kind of not motivated, just plain lazy, right? You struggle with yourself. I just get on that platform again and just clock myself, like, because I know, and then I'll just put a value on myself. Okay, your hourly rate is, 150 ringgit, whatever. You should try it out. It's a very interesting concept. Like, you're just trying to organize yourself. After a while, you kind of just, okay, I know my value. I shouldn't waste time. I know it's not money. I'm not getting paid for this, but at least you know that, you have a value on time, on people that you're spending with.
Right.
Whatever, business. So it applies to that as well. Yeah.
This part of your life, when you start getting used to having a family, right?
Yeah.
Was this happening when you were working with an agency or when you were doing your business?
When
you start your own family, yep.
Okay, so I got married when I was still at the last phase of working with Clio magazine at that time. So being in the publishing world was so hectic. So I got married then, like towards the end. And then I moved on to digital. So I got my daughter when I was in the agency. So that was when I had her. It was already, I was climbing up. We can say climbing, but I was growing in my role and in being in digital. So it was a bit tough for me. Being a working mom is not easy, right? You kind of have yourself I was at that time quite young, so I had my own emotional thing I was battling, like, oh my God, am I fat? Am I... or, oh my God, all this stuff, right? And then, so I was battling all that, and then I had a daughter. The whole ball game changed. You can't be selfish. Like, I think I've learned so much being a mom. It's such a privilege because, being a mom... Okay, so she has taught me to be even more disciplined, right? Because there's no way of me slacking off. Like, even if you're tired from work, as long as you get home, you're still working being a mom. So that's when I started doing it. So I would say the first 6 months after I gave birth, I didn't sleep well because I was working 24 hours. I was working through my confinement. I was a workaholic.
Right.
Yeah, I was a workaholic. I was like, okay, still doing baby breastfeeding. I'm still digital. And then it was interesting. It was such a great
But I think
phase.
the transformation towards digital, I believe it's making things a lot easier because it doesn't really require you to go out as often, right?
Yeah.
Because everything is already here.
Yeah.
So all you do is here, right? Compared to like maybe when you were working in the publishing part, that was a little bit hard because you had to move out a lot, right? You move in, move here.
Yep.
But anyways, there's that keeping a balance in your business and also your family and also your work life, right?
Yep.
So moving on to the next one, we would like you to give a little bit of a story as well as to when and how did you first started getting into consulting businesses?
Oh, good question. Yeah. So I started doing consulting on my own, I would say last year in June. So I have I have to share this with you because at that time I was still, free, well, you can say part-timing with my previous last agency. My boss at that time was very forgiving, very supportive because I was very open about what my intentions were. Right. And then it was not I didn't stop 9 to 5 days a week work. I had a gradual transition for myself and for the company because I had held quite a very significant role that I didn't have to drop immediately.
Right.
So it took me about, I think, good 5 months or 6 months before I latched off fully from that work.
Okay.
So that led me to official cutoff on my own in June last year. Wait, hang on. 2 years ago.
Wow.
Hang on.
Time really...
Did I? Yeah, I quit, right? So, and then, so I went on doing 2 things. Not just my consulting. I had consulting and I was working towards launching my beauty line, which is Crush Beauty. So it was 2 things. I was, like I mentioned, I was a workaholic. And then I needed not just Crush Beauty, and then I, pair it up with consulting at the same time. So it worked concurrently with that. So I took the time to, to study the market and then do that concurrent. Yeah.
All right. Now that we know a little bit of a history from being a consultant to working for several agencies, right? There must be a point in time where you made that decision like, okay, it's about time for me to run my own business. And I want you to share with us, what was the thought process like when you decide to make that decision yourself, right? As in, like, what made you decide to start your own business?
Okay.
Yeah.
I try to be concise. So I think the approach I was going for was, having this feeling of abundance
Okay.
to yourself. Like I told like I said, this thing that I carried on when as growing up, it was not just being selfish. It's about me all the time. It was about what's more, right? So what made me change, what made me do this was, I felt I owe it to myself, right? And I felt like when I have to learn to say no to things.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, it was so hard because I think we were so into like, okay, I'll do it. Yes to everything, yes to everything. I wish I could tell women out there, you don't have to say yes to everything, right? So it took a lot of thinking about abundance, which means learning to say no to things that doesn't make you happy, for example, or doesn't fulfill you, which is the 9 to 5 job, whatever that you may have, right? Say no. I realized by doing that, it made it easier for me to pursue what I wanted to pursue, which is challenge myself to do consulting and to really take over this, this saturated business, which is into the cosmetic line business in Malaysia, right? So all this while, I feel I've always shared with people on a very personal level. So I'm glad that I'm here with you to share it as well, because by saying no, there's actually more things that came to me, right? I realized that the more I try to push, the more I try to like beg for attention, or I try to like, oh, would you would you give me a job, for example? Would you give me a project? Would you cover my story? Would you collab with me? The more I had that mindset, the more it became so hard for me to move on. So I think at that point of deciding whether I want to quit my 9 to 5 job, I actually had that thought, you know what? I'm going to take the risk because I know what my worth. I know I'm going to be able to do this. I got this. And I'm going to say no to things that won't make me happy, and then try and explore things that I think might make me happy, and just go for it. So I think that feeling of abundance is very important. Like there's orang cakap niat you. And then also, just have this full feel about yourself. It's no problem with that. It's not being selfish. It's just to just be realizing what your capabilities are.
I get what you mean, because like I actually remember reading this book called, it's exactly like what happened to you. Is this book was talking about the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset, right?
Right.
So the scarcity mindset is knowing that you're in a very desperate position, and the more you want it, the more it runs away from you. But if you just stop and be okay with it, and everything will come to you as it's supposed to be. So I think that is something that you can really relate to, right? That book really taught me a lot as well.
That's great. I feel so. I know as cheesy as it sounds, the universe will hear it. They will do. They do eventually, right? There's some bigger power that just naturally fall to you. God willing lah, right? So
I guess it also depends on like how bad you really want it at the first place, right? If you know that you want it, you know that patience is part of the game, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
You cannot really like force it, because as a matter of fact, it's like it'll push that away rather than it'll bring it to you, right?
You gotta have the fire,
right?
But you cannot. I don't know. It takes years, or it takes some effort to really get into that zone, right? Because we're naturally human. We're always like, oh, I need to get this done, but then you kind of have to tell your mind. It's all about the mindset. Tell your mind, like, tell your soul, like, okay, look, yes, you have a goal, but then you gotta just, go with the flow at the same time, and go with your pace. Do things with purpose along the way, and take your time. Like, that's what I've learned. So that's been helping me a lot.
Great. So, what about Crush Beauty, your product, your business, right? Crush Beauty. How did that one all started? What was the startup experience like? If you could share with us, what was the startup process like from A to where you are right now?
Okay. Going back with doing things with purpose, right? I was actually, when I was doing agency, I dealt a lot with beauty brands. Okay, I dealt a lot with a lot of market research, data, etc. So and then I realized, yeah, there's some gap in the market. There was a growing need as well. So that's one part. That's more on the business side of things. And then on a personal level, I was very sick. The whole year before I decided to even venture into my own business, that was a year I was falling sick a lot. I was hospitalized a lot, and I was just so sick. I felt like this is not the way I want to live my life. I felt like it was such an emotional year for me, right?
What happened, if you don't mind sharing?
I had a miscarriage that year.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had a miscarriage, and then my whole physique just I don't know, just went down with it, right? And then I wasn't able to work out. I had no energy. I think it was such an emotional, losing a baby at that time.
Of course.
So I was overcoming that. So I went through that, and then, my immune system, I guess, was whacked. And then I started getting bronchitis, and then I was getting back-to-back stuff. So it was such a bad year. The whole year, I think I spent a lot of time in the hospital. Yeah, so I was just kind of like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And I had to check out from work. So I took a lot of sabbatical leave at the same time. So I didn't really feel nice about it because I was, holding my team back, and I was thinking a lot like, who's going to help them out? I'm at the hospital. Who's going to help my boss? Who's going to help my clients? I was like, oh my goodness. So the whole year was battling that, and then I had a daughter, right? I already had a daughter, so I had to manage her, and then it was a whole different ball game that year. And I thought that was another push. I was like, okay. And then towards the end, and then I was like, you know what? I need a change. And I met a friend of mine. I have to credit her for this. She came out to me, and then, we spoke, and it's just like, hey, why don't you start a business? And then so that's when, I was better at that time. It was January 2 years ago. Right. It was the same year I quit to start my consulting. Right. So, and then I was like, okay, so let's do some research again. I was back up. I was like, let's distract myself from being sick. I remember pushing myself in January. I was just like, I'm done being sick for the whole year. I told myself mentally, I was like, I'm not gonna repeat this process again this year. I'm gonna achieve this. I had set milestones for myself at that year. And so I did. I did my research. I applied my process to and learn a lot. Did a lot of R&D for the cosmetic line, the lip mats I do, and then trying to get the right formula in, because I would have sensitive lips, and I didn't want things that would hurt a woman's body naturally. I just got sick, right? So I wanted to something that was, of course, fulfilling for everyone to use. That was missing in the market, and then I was like, okay, let's do this. And there I go, stabilizing my life again until June. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to do my own consulting, and I'm going to launch my brand.
Wow.
Yeah, then I did. Yeah.
What a comeback.
I was like, yeah. So you could have cut like January, February, March, April, May, June, 6 months in. I was just like, I gave myself deadlines. So I treated, that's when I said, treat myself like my bit. Like, you got to know yourself, how to manage your time, your motivation, your target, set your life target. So it works. Wow. So that's my advice for everyone. Like,
plan your day out.
Plan your day out. Plan your whatever, like, month when you want to hit. So far it's been on the dot, on point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty inspiring of you to share that you went through I would say a very dark phase personally for you, right?
Yeah.
And seeing that you made I like to call it a comeback, if you might say that way, right? It's like life is telling you to go down, and then you're like, no, I'm going to fight my way through. Yeah, you're like, no.
I fight you.
Yeah. And then look at where that gets you right now. And I do believe like Crush Beauty is doing super well as well in their businesses, right? Speaking of Crush Beauty, I actually went through your that profile before, and then I only noticed there's only one line of product, which is the lip matte.
Yeah.
Right? And why do you only choose that one rather than any other product lines?
Okay, good question. I actually have the homemade products as well, but that's by order only. But yes, the core product is the lip matte, liquid lipsticks. Right. Reason being because, again, it was backed by my research that I did before we launched. So Color Cosmetics was one of the sustainable line of products that Malaysian women buy. they would cut back on expenditure on other products, but the colored cosmetics, which is the lipstick colors, right? That is good. I mean, that's showing quite a good trending upward trend for the next couple of years. So I decided on a very business take to actually launch it. You can't go wrong with colors. Girls get so confused. And it's true experience as well. But yeah, you can't go wrong with colors. And as long as you have the right formula, the right ingredients, I think that would speak to the customers as well. Yeah. I don't dare to get onto the face yet because that requires definitely
a lot more R&D.
Yeah. So I think the easiest, a lot easier to do would be the lip category.
All right. So knowing that now that you have this brand, right? When you started this brand, Crush Beauty, along the way, I do believe you have your own, like you mentioned, your own milestones that you want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Was there a point in time that you actually collaborated with someone along the way, building the name of the brand? Someone or anyone, actually, yeah.
I've not hit that big of a collaboration that I wish yet. I'm working towards that.
Okay.
But collaboration was actually the direction for Crush when we first launched. I did collab with, my concept for Crush Beauty was to position it as not just, the cruelty-free brand, the vegan brand, Botanica, etc., but we wanted to make it a creative brand as well.
Right.
Out of the box a bit. Didn't want to have, if you've seen our feed, you don't see thick makeup models. We wanted to make it for everyday girl, everyday woman that wants to just wear lipstick and nothing else, right? So basically, collaboration-wise, it was, I could share with you that we collaborated with candle brands that share the same concept of vegan, cruelty-free, organic products. And then I've also collaborated with a women empowerment statement teas brand. So these are the little activations that I've done. So it's more of, I think I'm very personal. I try to get purposeful collaborations. I would go like, let's do all out and sell. But I really wanted to build the brand properly. I didn't want to,
again, abundance mindset.
I think so. That's like automatically in me, right? So even collaborating, I wanted to send a message, support other women entrepreneurs, support this kind of concept approach as well. And it had to do a lot with gifting, a lot of women empowerment in it. So those are the certain collaborations that I did in the past that was quite notable,
Fail a lot to get big wins once in a while. What's your process like for your career?
Okay. I'm a believer of that. I believe I'm not afraid of failures because I feel there's always something to learn from it. I tell that a lot to people I work with or people I meet. Because everyone's kind of like, shit, like, what the fuck, we didn't do right, or we didn't make it this far, or certain things, or sometimes you don't even try, you're just already thinking of failure. So if you're asking me what my thoughts are about that, right?
About failures leading to
success, right? I think it's mandatory for anyone to go through, right? Even I wouldn't say I'm successful yet. I wouldn't say that. I'm not in the position to say that yet because I know there's so much to work on, right? And I think even if I'm successful, I'm going to still persevere and still learn. But I think through failure, you can actually grow. And like I said, I think I spoke on my first year when people asked me, like, how are you going to do your first year? I'm like, I'm just going to try everything. It doesn't work out. I know what to do next. I know what to do, not to do, or what to do better. So it's always about that. Like, it's all, of course, you're going to feel like, crappy, right? At that point of failure. But you got to, I think I was able to pick myself up fast and not dwell on things, on failure. Like I always see, I would just cry it out or whatever. I mean, I've gone through a lot as well. So it's just learn from that experience.
I think that's the most common thing about a lot of people out there is that they dwell a lot on on their failures. I mean, not to be a hypocrite, I myself do that sometimes as well, right? Like when I do something really badly and I feel like I'm such a disappointment to myself at times. But then again, it's always like maybe a few months after that thing happened to you, and you're like, why did I dwell so long on that thing, right? And I think that's also part of it, part of the process, if you might say that way, right? To be able to take that time to internalize whatever is happening, right? Because that will develop your thinking skills into like, okay, that should have not been done before, and now let's move forward with the next one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Each to their own. Like, take your time to recover. Take your time to really let it sink in and think of what your next move should be.
All right, cool. So, in your opinion, why is it more than just being talented? You know, the saying goes like, you need talent to go out there and all that.
Very good question there. I let me share an experience with you.
Okay, that'll be great.
Okay. When I was hiring someone, when I was working. I'll use a case study that so I was involved with the hires for my agency before, right? I can never forget this moment, because that was the moment I decided to change my approach, because I was so fed up with getting the wrong candidates, or I don't know whether it was the candidate or whether I was approaching it, interviewing. Yeah, of course, you can't blame the candidates all the time either. So I remember one day, I got a resume in, and I was like, and then somebody said, don't bother because this person doesn't have the skill set, doesn't have the talent for what we're looking for, right? And I was like, no, give me that. She looks interesting. At least she's got some experience in other areas, right? And then I decided to give her a go and gave her the interview opportunity. Along with other talented, experienced people in digital, right, at that time. So I was kind of like, because I've gone through that, so I kind of feel, let's always give someone an opportunity. So anyways, this candidate came in. I've seen the rest, talented, very good resume. Okay, and I was like, okay, yeah, fine, all right, let's see this girl. And then she came in. Then she's like, I was like, can you tell about yourself? And she started talking, no experience in digital yet, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, there's something about you you're not telling me. Like, can you not treat me like an interviewer for once? And then just tell me who you are. And then she's like, she started being such a cool chick. I was like, see? Like, be yourself. And then she's kind of like, are you seriously... I do this, I smoke, and, I like totally whatever. I'm like, wow, you don't look it. What else are you not telling me? She's like, I'm a very quick learner. And she started opening up. And I was like, you know what? Why should I hire you? You don't have the talents for digital. Then she kind of like, because I can work, I'm like, when you just have to tell me once, you don't have to repeat anymore. And I was like, okay, no talent, but I'm hiring you. So prove yourself. So she stayed on for... good year. Wow. She was the ace of the team. Yeah. Wow. So if you're asking me about having, it's not important to have a talent or skills, but eventually if you're street smart and you know what your purpose is in your position, right? And continuous learning, I think you go far. So not necessarily being talented in that area of digital or being skillful doesn't really mean anything, because to be honest, I work with talented people per se, but when it comes to the real work, they can't apply it. It's totally different. So I actually was like kind of like, okay, Ayu, let's see how she goes. Please make your judgment right. And I gotta hire her. She proved herself, and she will ask questions. So I think on my personal level, I also was in her position as well. My first job being in Clio, I had a very good mentor. My boss was amazing. She hired me because I was fresh grad. No talent at all. I was put in the marketing team, and that was it. I was like, here you go. Launch our fashion awards. Launch our Clio bachelors. I'm like, what is going on? Kill me now. I remember crying, running to the cubicle, okay? I was that girl. I was so sad, scared. And then I went on like, okay, I don't have talent for this. I don't have talent for this. And I lasted for like another 4 or 3 years. Then I just gonna pick it up and go. And believe lah. I don't like... be smart about going away. I didn't always follow the book, but I got things done. So
Yeah. But I want to go back to that question, that statement you made earlier. Though I do believe a lot of people are also quite keen to know what you mean by that. Is that when you decide to hire that girl, even without the talent, but what was that one element that you really saw in her that makes you like, okay, I'm gonna give you a go, but you make sure you don't fuck shit up, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. What was that one element? Is it her confidence, or is it her attitude, or is just that the way she speaks to you, or any of that?
I think it was some X factor thing, because I believe I have a very good instinct. I listen to my gut a lot, right? And I mean, people can talk big about themselves, and they're not what they say they are. But something about this girl, like when you can't hide your eyes. I feel like I think I probed her well. I just said, I'm very tired of interviewing, and I'm sure you're tired of going for interviews. So let's get this bullshit lah. Come on. And then I think she kind of like, seriously, she came in like, she was like that. She was, I don't know, if you're watching this video, I know who, you know who you are. But she's like, and then, she's got like hijab on. And then I was like, girl, something about you. And she changed. She was a totally different person. As soon as I said, cut this, I was I was not a typical interview. I told myself, I'm going to approach differently. I'm not going to be those typical interviewers, macam HR, I didn't want to do that. I was kind of like, it's a creative agency. Why are we doing this? Let's change this out a bit and see. It led me to one of the star players in the agency. I was really sad when she moved on. I was trying to say, hey, she didn't finish her school yet. She didn't graduate. Can you believe it?
Oh.
And she was doing so well than the graduates and the experienced people.
Wow.
Put her on the key account. That's it. And I was kind of, okay, you go. But, yeah, so I think what I saw in her was the X factor. I think I cannot it's a whole she was totally different, but she was herself. Just herself. I think that was it.
By being yourself.
Being yourself.
And showing authenticity.
And like I guess she really wanted to learn. Like I felt it in her. I wanted a candidate that not just, I want to work because I nak gaji, I want to survive, my mom says I should work. And when she came in, she switched herself out. She was herself, but she had saw the fire in her. I'm going to learn. Like she was like, I want to learn. Like I want to learn digital. I was like, okay, good. So why did she leave from the previous job? Because she wasn't learning a lot and stuff. So I think...
Oh, she used to do digital as well at the previous place?
No, she was more marketing lah. It was a bit of fear when she didn't really be able to learn. So I picked out that she's ready to learn from, the team at the agency. So there was a lot of genuine in her voice, like being herself. Secondly is I can sense the need of learning and not gonna give up easy. That vibe. Yeah. So I like that.
Wow.
So the other candidate's gonna kill me now. Yeah.
We know that business owners, they go through quite a roller coaster ride from time to time, right?
Yeah.
They go up and down, up and down, up and down. From your experience, what are some of the roadblocks to watch out when running a business?
Roadblocks.
Yeah. If you can pinpoint one by one.
Oh, no. I think the toughest one would be people, right?
Dealing with people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit tiring. Although I believe in human connections and whatnot, right? But I think the roadblock as a startup, like a new business, I'm still on this pursuit of finding, forming my team. Right. Currently, I'm dealing a lot of freelancers, but of course, some nothing lasts, right? And then there's a lot of stuff that you need to put up with. You have so much, you put so much what do you call that? Hopes and expectations, etc. And then you got to plan things up, and then I guess that's one of the roadblocks. So when something falls, you got to pick it up, and then it slows down whatever you have planned. So I think that's just one thing. It's not a roadblock. It could be a roadblock and a blessing. You do find great people that you kind of like, oh my God, I really wanted to hear it from you, and then you also have people that kind of just, you got to deal with it. So that's one roadblock. And then another thing, I guess it's in a business perspective, is financing. So if there's this mindset, oh, you need funds to grow, etc. So those are all the roadblocks, like, I guess, for growth. But I'm kind of maneuvering my way, trying to have some lean operations on myself and see how I go and see how that would improve finding the investors or funders, etc. So those are the little things lah.
Okay.
And also roadblock in terms of I guess motivation to sometimes you have days
going, yeah.
Sometimes you just want to oh my gosh, you wake up you don't have your it's tough, but it's you got to get over yourself. Like I said, I feel motivation is such bullshit sometimes because it's actually discipline. You gotta go on. So yeah.
But how do you counter yours though? If you were to say that there are days when it's gloomy.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you actually regardless if it's gloomy or not, I'm still gonna do my thing. How do you actually, if you might say it that way, hack your way through it?
Yeah. So I actually follow this motivational speaker on Instagram.
Who?
Mel Robbins.
Hey, Mel Robbins.
I love her.
Yeah, I love her. She helped me a lot when I have my anxiety attacks.
I know, right? Mel Robbins. I mean, I try. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I do a lot of meditation. I try to breathe in the morning and count to 5, do the whole thing. So that helps. And then I try to channel my negative energy to new things like excitement lah, like running, yoga or anything new that I could do, right? So it's managing that. I have anxiety as well, like everyone does. I'm not gonna lie. Like I have days I'm like, oh my god, I suck. Like,
right.
But like brush your tail, and then you gotta like, okay, you don't think like that. Come on, you can do this.
And then that thought itself is like, what do you think that way? And then it escalates to another one, and it escalate.
And then you kind of just breathe, and then you have to take your time, like calm down, or just take my space, go for my run, go for my yoga, and just zen out. Or just don't even do anything, just sit at the edge of the bed and just cry it out, or just, breathe and just focus on the next thing that you could do better, like. Yeah.
I do have a question. Like Mel Robbins, she does have this one method where she said, place the triggers of the habits that you want to practice on a daily basis, right? So like if you want to go to gym, put your gym attire on the bed and make sure that it triggers you when you see it, right?
Yeah.
Do you actually practice that? Or,
I do. Yeah, I do that.
Have that been helping you?
Yes, it has.
Wow.
I do, especially for my workouts, my runs. I always have my baju ready, like my flat lay,
right.
Like my sock, my armband, my this and that. And I'm like, okay, sleep. Okay, better wake up and it's there. Or like fruits, for example, eat more fruits. Put fruits there, cut it up, put it in the fridge. Yeah, all that triggers. Right. So that really helps, that whole approach that she does. Yeah.
If I were to ask you right now, do you think that new habit that you want to practice, and through that method that we just spoke about, does your life become a little bit more routine now? Is it more disciplined right now?
I would say it's organized. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't have I have a more organized or more routine, I guess. So that helps.
But that is also something that you've been practicing for the past 10 years, right? Yeah, which is a timeline, and all of that, milestones and that's all that, right?
The little push that I need, those days that I'm human, right? So I do have days that I'm just having my down days. So those, I still practice that, so it helps.
All right. We're at the final question of this episode. It has been such an entertaining one as well, because coming in this room, I didn't know who you were. I was quite excited to get to know you. Thank you. I actually gave you a follow on Instagram just because I want to know more about it, right? Yeah, because it was on private. I'm like, I'll just follow, and just went through. And it gave me a good insight of who you are and all of that, right? Just before we end this episode, we have one more question for you. Which is, where can people find out more about you personally and also the brand that you are running right now?
Okay. So personally, you can follow me at Ayu for real.
Wait. Are you for real?
Yes,
Yeah.
Ayu for real. AYU for real. So yes, it's pun intended. And then for the business is Crush for Crush Beauty is Shop for Crush.
Alright.
So SHOPFORNCRUSH for website and all that. Yeah.
Cool. So guys, definitely go check out her page, both personal and also her business account. I noticed there's a lot of empowering stuff all going on over there as well. So she gave you the IG handle. You guys go check that out. And if you really want it, you can support her business as well. They'll make things a lot better for her.
Guys, buy my lipstick.
There we go. All right. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much, Ayu, for spending your quality time with us.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, it's your time. We're taking it away from you, but you made it here, and we really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So fun to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Empowering women in her own ways. From going in and out of hospitals, balancing time with her family, to running her own business, and now she's out there to be more than just that. I hope you gain tons of value from this podcast. Special thanks to Ayu Adam for spending some quality time with us. This was a collaboration between Culture Talent and Renegade Radio. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.